So if we look at the Thomas test, what we're trying to do is really work out whether or not there is some hip flexor tightness that is up here, whether there is rec fem tightness, thinking about that as a two joint muscle crossing your hip and your knee, and then also whether or not that TFL is tight in addition, which might swing them into abduction. So the way that I would do this is just take the athlete up into full hip flexion, take them all the way up, so I've got two hands free by putting their feet flat on my chest, and then what I'm doing is just almost monitoring when that sacrum makes contact with the bed. In that position there, what I'm going to do is just lower one of the limbs. I'm going to do the near one for ease and maintain the exact same angle so that is stabilized in that position. What I'm then going to do as we do that is just look and see whether or not there is any lift of the femur relative to the bed. That would indicate some hip flexor tightness. If they can get that completely straight on there, then again, we're probably looking at that as being a fairly normal level. And again, we'd look one side compared to the other. Now, if I get you to hold on to that limb for me and maintain that position, it then frees me up to then manipulate what's happening at the knee. So if the rec fem is particularly tight, what will happen if I monitor underneath this athlete's thigh, so just for, look, I've got my hand underneath here, monitoring the pressure. If I then take that knee into extension, if it's a rec fem tightness, what will happen is that will drop back down and the pressure on my finger will increase. If it goes the other way, so I might decide to do a knee flexion here, which again will add more tension onto the rec fem, not do anything up at the hip flexor region. What might happen there is actually this starts to lift up a little bit higher if that rectus femoris is tight. This position is ideal. Just again, you can go from midline straight down and look at what's happening angulation wise in terms of the swing out of the femur. That would indicate some TFL tightness, obviously the influence of that iliotibial band that comes off it. So it gives you quite a lot of information, this test, relative to what's going on. I'd always then assess the other side. So I'd maintain that same position there. I'd take the tension off here, bring this other one up. Make sure you've got that same position, monitor what's happening in terms of the touch. Swap sides, particularly if they're a footballer, like this guy is. So you can see so much more space underneath the thigh on this one compared to the other one. So if you hold on to this for me, James, hold that, and you can see you can get probably 2 or 3 fingers underneath here, which again indicates either hip flexor tightness or rec fem tightness. Again, if I straighten out the knee, what may happen is that drops back down, which it does, which is indicative of rec fem tightness rather than just the hip flexors. Or I can go the other way and bend that knee and basically look at what's happening in terms of the lift off. So if I bend it and it starts to lift up in terms of the femur, again, that's indicative of some rec fem tightness rather than the hip flexor region. Same thing again, looking at the angulation and the amount of swing off midline. You could draw an imaginary line straight down the middle of this athlete and measure the number of fingers. So again, lots of different measures that you can do so you can monitor whether or not you've made an influence from your treatments and interventions. So hopefully that gives you a good indicator. You can drop that back down again. Thank you very much.